.38 special ammunition is nice to have for a revolver chambered for it. Actually, I had very little .38 special ammunition. I did have .38 special plus P ammunition that I keep reserved for my .357 Magnum revolvers, and which would stay reserved for them. So, some standard .38 special ammunition was purchased for this trial of the M200. I had Magtech 158 grain LRN, Fiocchi 158 grain FMJ, a handful of older PPU 158 grain SWC, and I was trying Remington 130 grain FMJ for the first time in any revolver. Now, before I get too deep into range stay, I need to mention that prior to purchasing the M200, a lot of time was spent reading articles and viewing video reviews on this revolver. While some reviews went smooth as glass, others highlighted a failure to fire in multiple instances. Some FTFs were seemingly caused by revolver timing, while other FTFs seemingly caused by ammunition differences, wherein some ammunition fired without failure while some did not. While I could not tell from dry firing if light primer strikes were going to be an issue, I did observe that the hammer seemed consistent when it fell. That's the best that I could hope for. Now, as with pistols, revolvers can be picky about what ammunition is being fed through them. Hammer inertia and primer hardness can seriously affect whether a firearm is going to fire or not. I had to run the M200 with the stock hammer spring and factory ammunition primers and take my chances. At a combat distance of 7 yards, the M200 did very well for a budget revolver in both double action and single action modes, if I did my part. I dare to say that it would be on par with any of my 4-inch double action single action revolvers for the most part, and after more break-in time and use. Mozambique drills were run in double action mode only. The M200 would be a good choice for those who would not like to use their more expensive revolvers as personal defense companions, especially since you may have to turn that revolver over to law enforcement should you use it for the intended purpose, self-defense. It could also be used as a vehicle for teaching someone the rudiments of shooting a revolver for the first time, or as a practice vehicle for honing those learned skills. Overall, the first range day trial of the M200 was a good experience. The M200 fed, fired, and extracted without an issue. The HKS D-A speed loader made replenishing the cylinder an easy task, as did speed strips, just not as fast. The Safariland Comp 2 speed loader was also tried, but did not fare well as the cartridges could not be inserted far enough into the cylinder to allow the push-to-release feature to work. Recoil is moderate, meaning that it is not as violent as with lighter-framed revolvers, or when firing plus P ammunition through those revolvers. For first-time shooters, the M200 would be a good place to start them off on a journey to more powerful revolvers, if they decided to choose that path. As it is, the M200 is more than adequate to launch .38 special loads. One thing about revolvers that takes some getting used to, if you are primarily shooting pistols, is the long double action pull. The second part of this is the long trigger reset. The trigger must cycle completely in both pulling and letting off of the trigger. Trigger reset in both double action and single action modes is all the way forward, and it takes practice to master both. In most defensive situations, shooting in double action mode, whether one-handed or two-handed, is the norm. If you happen to let off the trigger in mid-cycle, the cylinder does not return to the rest position. You must rotate the cylinder until it locks up after the trigger is fully released, or you can pull the trigger again. The cylinder will not turn until the hand engages the extractor star. While Ruger double-action revolvers are wonderful when trying to stage the trigger, the M200 stages, just not as well. Staging comes about when, during the double-action trigger pull, a short bit of slack is filled in the trigger just after cylinder lockup and just before the hammer falls. Staging a trigger allows you time to verify that the sights are in alignment before you complete the shot. Ruger double-action revolvers are the kings of staging, while Smith & Wesson revolvers are the queens. The M200, not so much. The M200 operates best with a quick, fast, but smooth trigger operation from start to finish. Don't be bashful about cocking the hammer for a single-action operation. Do it with authority. As the revolver is broken in and loosens up, a cylinder not going into lockup may disappear, or it may not. If the issue of not fully locking up continues, contact Rock Island Armory customer service or a qualified gunsmith. At times, a thorough cleaning and possibly polishing of the internals may solve the problem. At other times, the revolver may need some timing adjustments, and unless you know what the heck you are doing, I would leave that to a qualified gunsmith. In other words, seek professional help for your revolver, as you may have an unsafe condition. All in all, I was satisfied with my first day of shooting the M200, and I learned quite a bit from it.